there are issues with his employment for sure.
Well, let's go. Thank you so much, Eric Lifton of the New York Times. U.S. Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State is a member of the Benghazi Committee, and Matt Schlapp is a former White House political director for George W. Bush. Gentlemen, we're looking at some facts here that may seem like in contradiction. They may not be. Congressman Schiff, do you know, Congressman Smith, do you believe that this was a good staffer for that committee, or don't you know? And also, do you believe you have evidence to corroborate what he said, which is the whole purpose of the committee now is to nail Hillary on something to do with emails? They didn't even know what it is, but not to really focus on what happened in Benghazi.
I have no idea if he was a good staffer or not. He worked for the majority. I didn't interact with him at all. But what he says is backed up by the facts. I mean, look, this committee has been around, or the Special Investigatory Committee has been around for, gosh, well over a year now. I think it's one of the longest-lasting congressional investigatory committees in history, spent over $4.5 million, and has done virtually nothing. Meanwhile, they interview everybody who has anything to do with Hillary. Look, it is clear that this is a partisan witch hunt. And what this staffer has said, merely confirms what I thought from the very beginning, but certainly what has proven to be the case, just from the committee's actions.
Matt, what do you think of this whole thing, putting it all together? I like to see complexity in things because I know life is complex. And a lot of times whistleblowers, so-called, do have problems with their bosses. That's why they turn on them. But they also can turn on them with truth, because that's the strongest weapon, the best weapon to use against a boss you didn't like or you felt you were screwed by. Get him with the facts. Does this guy have the facts? Podliska.
I don't know. I mean, the fact is the committee had a terrible week, and I think it's been rough on the staff as they're having to deal with these stories. But the facts are the facts. This is not the most expensive congressional investigation. Senator Feinstein's investigation of Abu Ghraib spent $40 million, lasted 8 years. We have 4 dead Americans. These are serious charges. If the committee doesn't get to the bottom of this, they would have committed, it would be a great shame. And I think they want to get to the bottom of it. And I think we ought to let them give a chance.
What is the bottom? What do you mean, bottom of what?
Well, let me tell you, they've just started getting the emails from Ambassador Chris Stevens. I think that's important in all this. They're actually looking at the emails and the data. And by the way, it took 8 investigations in Congress for us to find out how Hillary had this private server. This committee has actually unearthed a lot of questions. Let's look at the information and let's have a report.
Is this the bottom of what happened in Benghazi, or a fishing expedition to look for something bad on Hillary Clinton with regard to her emails? Just a general fishing expedition.
If it's the latter, the Republicans are making they'll have a big problem on their hands, and I don't think it is the latter.
Well, and they do.
Mr. Smith, what is it, Mr. Smith? A trolling operation on email, or is it a look into what happened in a horrible situation in Libya?
Well, it's clearly a trolling operation. I mean, Kevin McCarthy admitted as much, and this committee, it's taken a long time to do virtually nothing. Yes, other committees have lasted longer, but they were actually doing something, as was mentioned by the New York Times.
They've investigated 50.
Just a second. Can I just finish a thought here? The New York Times, reporter mentioned, they had 9 separate hearings scheduled from January to October. They canceled them all. They haven't done anything. They are not investigating what happened in Benghazi.
That's not true.
What they are
They've actually been doing interviews. They've done 53
here's another thing that they've done.
Matt, hold on for a second. Just finish, Mr. Smith, then Matt.
Another thing that they've done is they have done interviews with witnesses in a partisan way. They have not told Democrats about those interviews. And then when those interviews didn't reveal the facts the way that the Republicans wanted them to, they buried them until we accidentally found out about them. This has been a partisan investigation from the very beginning.
I know, but
not just Cheryl Mills, a whole lot of other witnesses as well.
Look, this is always the case when Congress does. This is always the case when Congress does investigations. If President Obama wants to lead, have something like a Tower Commission, have a bipartisan commission look at everything, put a time limit on it.
They did.
And let's get to the bottom of it.
They had a bipartisan commission with
Hillary Clinton's going to testify in 10 days. I think we're going to see a lot of footage of what the members of the committee on the Republican side have and what they don't have, and what Hillary Clinton says in her defense. It's going to be a fascinating day. I hope it's useful to us all. Thank you, U.S. Congressman Adam.